we see this as a positive. If a customer is proactively taking such drugs under prescription, then we never wouldn't.
Hi everyone, this is Ira Puranik. Welcome to the Thefynprint. Today we have with us Mr. Anshul Mittal, appointed actuary at HDFC ERGO General Insurance. Today we'll be talking about a rather revolutionary health insurance plan that HDFC ERGO has launched. So thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Ira.
Let me start by understanding what is the underwriting philosophy that went behind designing HDFC ERGO Optima Secure Plus. Why I ask this is that it has a rather radical feature in the form of your sum insured growing infinitely.
Yeah.
I want to understand where that came from and what were your thoughts behind designing this product.
So, thank you, Ira, for that. We basically checked with all the customers, and we have a large portfolio of health insurance. Anyways, have a marquee product Optima Restore, which did very well. What we thought that let's check with our customer, what are the reasons that they are thinking to not buy the cover. And then it came across, then we did a large study, and we came across 6-7 themes which are very common. The first thing that customer used to say that whether this cover is sufficient, because everyone knows that health insurance inflation is very high, that whether what I'm buying today, is it sufficient or not. So that was one thing. And to tackle that, we designed something called infinite cover, where your base sum insured increase by 100% every year. Then there was other reason that, okay, if suppose sum insured gets exhausted during the year, what will I do? Middle of year. Then we designed something unlimited restoration, where if your sum insured gets utilized during the middle of year, then from next hospitalization within that same year, your basically sum insured will get reinstated to tackle this bhana, which we say. Then there was other bahana that what if my hospitalization expenses will be covered, but there are other expenses which are not covered when the person gets hospitalized. To tackle that, we built something called consumable cover, which is roughly 10% of the cost of your claim. We said that we will cover everything by default until customer chooses to opt out of it. So that got inbuilt.
I want to understand, because the product offers so much in a single bundle, in a single product, what would be the premium growth commensurate the product's feature? So I can have a 10 crore cover 10 years down the line. At what point will the premium growth stop being linked to the base sum insured that I started with and then take on the increasing sum insured that, grows every year per the policy?
See, both are not linked together.
Okay.
Both are different. One is that your pricing is dependent on your underlying cost, that how the costs are behaving. Even if I'm giving you a 10 crore sum insured, I'll not charge a premium equivalent to 10 crore sum insured with you, what I am charging from a customer who is buying upfront 10 crore.
Okay.
Because you stayed put with the policy, you have given that tenure for HDFC ERGO, you should have that loyalty benefit, and your sum insured gradually increases. So your cost of 10 lakh sum insured eventually move into 10 crore will always be different from a customer who is starting afresh on 10 crore. So that these two are completely interlinked.
So irrespective of how high my sum insured goes, my premium costs over the years will not be linked to that.
Will depend on your base sum insured.
By base sum insured.
Yes.
Walk me through what is the underwriting process that undergoes when somebody with diabetes, because diabetes is a lifestyle disease, almost every second individual in India unfortunately has it. When a case of diabetes with somebody who has an HB1AC level of say a 7 or a 6.5, it comes to you, what goes in the back end of the policy design? What are the factors that you consider while deciding the premium for them? If that individual was not aware of that he or she has been developing diabetes over the years, how does that surface during the claims time when this could come up as a fact that this was not disclosed previously?
I think that's a very important question, a very common question being asked. I would say clarity is not there around this question in the customer. First is when the customer declares, first of all, every customer should declare that disease. Whatever. If they are aware of anything, they should declare, because it helps them at the time of claim. Suppose if a customer declare that they are suffering from diabetes, and as you said, there is something, these are lifestyle disease. So we created something called a cover ABCD, like asthma, blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetic. Because these all are very high prevalent in India. So we said that if you opt for this cover, your cover of this disease will start from day 31 instead of 36 months that the customer will have to wait. That's a customer choice. But coming to your original question of what we do as an underwriting, our base premium is a standardized premium, which is the average premium that we charge for, let's say, a customer who is in a reasonable state of health. If suppose
Okay.
I am a customer and I declare my diabetic which is above 7, above 7.5, then there are certain underwriting guidelines. Let's say certain limit, I provide no loading to a customer. I don't charge anything from a customer.
Okay. And what
If
is
the
that limit?
It depends on time to time. It is not a cast in stone. It depends on how our portfolio develops. But usually you can say like 7.58 is roughly, if suppose there is any limit, that we will not charge any premium from the customer, additional premium from the customer. Now, if a customer declares a higher diabetic, HbA1c, then there is a certain element of loading that we charge from a customer because they are a higher risk of, in general, for any disease. And then if the customer declares a very high limit, we might ask customer to go certain level of health checkup so that we can better assess their health, and then we can put this as a part of the policy document. So at the claim stage, they do not have to face any difficulty. Their claim experience is at least pleasant from that point of view.
Another thing, I think underwriting issue that might come up in the years to come is the highly prevalent use of Ozempic, Mounjaro, other GLP-1 drugs. It is hard to distinguish these days with the kind of availability of these drugs. You can get them off Tata 1mg, other pharmacy platforms. It's hard to distinguish whether they're being taken for actual maybe diabetes or other conditions where the doctor actually prescribes them, or for weight loss, which is also a genuine use case but not covered in insurance policy. How do you foresee that challenge, and how do you see that the coverage for these things being incorporated into underwriting in the years to come?
We see this as a positive. If a customer is proactively taking such drugs under prescription of a doctor, I believe, then we treat that the customer is better aware of their health. And then we never load or any do loading for any usage of a drug, such drugs, until and unless the customer BMI is within the range.
Okay.
If a customer BMI is out of the range, that's underwriting prerogative. It's that same treatment for whether a customer is taking a drug or not taking a drug. But in fact, it's a positive for us if a customer is taking care of their good health.
So if somebody were to come to you tomorrow, say somebody from Delhi, he or she is taking a weight loss drug, Mounjaro, and they want a policy from you, say a 10 lakh cover, that would be something HDFC would be more than okay to cover that person.
Yes. So taking a drug, not a showstopper for us.
Okay.
So it all depends what is the BMI or what is the state of health of a person. State of drug will not influence any decision for us.
So if that person also has OPD cover now, which would reimburse the cost of medicines to of outpatient drugs and cost to some extent. Now taking GLP-1 drugs could be an indefinite process because you never know when you could come off it. That kind of an indefinite process is something that insurers generally don't like because there's a lot of uncertainty factor to it. So how do you see that?
In Optima Secure or in Optima Secure Plus, we are not covering outpatient expenses. It's an inpatient cover.
Right.
If a customer has been diagnosed with something, and if a customer goes through the hospitalization, and if a doctor prescribe not for a lifestyle management, but let's say for a survival of a person, then it's a different thing. But in outpatient, we are not covering because that's not in this case, in precisely this case, insurance will not work.
Fair.
Insurance will not work.
Another question that I had in mind was around mental health. So I want to understand, even though law has mandated that both mental health and physical health, the coverage for that should be at par. What is also a reality is that most insurers, the agents are not trained. I'm currently dealing with a similar case on these grounds where he approached multiple insurers, could not get the requisite answers or even the coverage for them, and was blatantly denied on the grounds that these cases are not covered by insurers. This despite the law of the land being equal coverage. Now, there is no specific guidelines on the mental health issue in the policy wording that I went through. I want you to explain on the underwriting design that you have for a mental health condition. Then again, a lot of these psychiatric conditions might also lead to suicidal tendencies, which again is a very categorical exclusion in every health insurance policy.
Right.
How does the differentiation come in that space, and what is the kind of philosophy that you have for allowing for mental health coverage in your Optima Secure Plus or even Optima Secure and other plans?
First of all, you're right that law of land is that you have to treat it at equal to the physical health. So at HDFC ERGO, we are very clear. In fact, before the regulation, we were actively doing it, that we were treating mental health same as physical health. We are transparently saying in all our communication to our distributor, to our customer, but it still will take time for that information to disseminate down to the every distribution channel. But we are very clear that mental health is same as physical health. It will be treated same as physical health. If a customer is declaring, rightly so, We cannot deny a cover to the customer. We have to see that whether it fits into our underwriting guideline, and if at all, whether it requires a loading, whether it requires certain kind of exclusion, or whether it requires certain kind of different product for the customer for the better need of that.
So if I were to say disclose past history of schizophrenia or a bipolar disorder, how would that fit into your underwriting guidelines today?
See, there is no standard answer because it all depends on that customer's personal state. If suppose person is having a seizure, then what is the intensity? And then there is a different level to measure it. What level of sum insured that customer is required, in which area the customer is living. Then all these are underwriting guidelines. It's not a straightforward yes or no answer.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand in brief about the coverages at par, but there is no mention of the same in when you talk about of it in your policy wording. So if I were to go through it tomorrow, I would not know if HDFC Optima Secure is covering it or not. Then that is also something that I wanted to understand.
So it is mentioned in our underwriting guideline very clearly. It's just that policy documents and all those documents what you are referring to, I need to see those because we are clearly mentioning that as per the guidelines, as per the law, we are covering out mental illness to it. We'll have to see at which document you are referring to.
I also want to understand related to maternity because HDFC inbuilt, it has a 4-year waiting period for maternity and there are riders that can be taken for it. But I think this is one of the longest waiting periods in any insurance policies across the industry that HDFC has. So what is your view on the maternity cover and the cover for newborn then as well? First, why this longer waiting period? Of course, a rider can be taken, but what goes behind into designing that into the underwrite?
So maternity precisely is not covered in Optima Secure or any of the plan. A customer can buy an add-on.
Yes.
Which means a customer is voluntarily buying an add-on that it's called a Parenthood
Yes,
add-on.
Parenthood rider, yeah.
And there are different, it's not a 4 years only. So there are different terms, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years and 5 years.
Yes.
So a customer can choose and select according to his or her need, the Parenthood, this add-on.
But that also kind of got me thinking about senior citizens because right now HDFC does not, this is the IRDAI mandate that there is no age. An 85, 90-year-old individual can also get insured. But financially, that is not practical because of the premiums that go up. But it is also very much possible that somebody who's been on their corporate cover their entire life, retires at the age of 60, is left without a cover, and then might have to opt for a substandard or a low cover because the premiums are not affordable. So as an underwriter and somebody who's seen the industry so up and close, how do you see that problem being tackled by the insurance industry if it can be tackled at all?
First of all, that before the regulator came up with this regulation, I think most of our products at HDFC ERGO had this no limit. That ultimately it is up to the customer to decide whether they want to insure. We did not put any limit on the age. But now coming to your question on how the customer should do, and I can answer on my behalf for my family. I have bought a deductible cover for them, but a higher sum insured. At that age, what is required, that a sum insured should be very high because that is where you will need your sum insured most in most of the cases. But the premium cost is very high, as you rightly said. But opt for a deductible. Go for a 1 lakh deductible, 50,000 deductible, whatever your pocket feels, whatever as per your financial situation. Go for that deductible, and that will help you in saving cost by almost 50%, 40%. And it will help you go for a higher cover. Usually what people do is the other way around. People go for a lower sum insured, but they go for zero deductible. In that case, at that age, when that certain disease happened, that high inflation cost kicks in, they are out of the cover. So go for a higher sum insured and a deductible for senior citizen. That is the best strategy. So HDFC ERGO Optima Secure Plus provides a comprehensive cover. It is not a one area we are trying to win. We have heard the customer that across all the dimension, the customer requirement is that whether the sum insured will be low. So we are giving infinite cover where 100% sum insured increases every year. The customer wants to start young, so they will get a lifeline discount. A customer sitting in certain part of city in India where the cost is high versus where the cost is low, we want to differentiate. So we are offering 6 tiers. A customer can choose as per their city, premium as per their city.
One question on that, will there be a difference in pricing or a copay if I live in Haryana, Jhajjar, and I come to Delhi for my treatment? So there'll be a difference in the zone there as well. So is there a copay mandate there that I'll have to bear some part of the bill?
So Ira, at HDFC ERGO, no.
Okay.
So whatever your city of at the time of you are buying a policy, irrespective of whichever part of India you take hospitalization, because we want that customer hospitalization experience should be seamless. It should not happen that at the time of claim, customer is discovering something. So in policies, in our policy, Optima Secure Plus, there are no such condition. You can have a peace of mind when a customer is buying a policy.
For more such content, follow the fine print.